Mitt Romney has released his taxes finally, or his tax returns. And we go to John McKinnon of the Wall Street Journal joining us now from Washington, D.C. There he is. And John, as I understand it, he released a lot of information, not just 2011 taxes. Tell us.
Yeah, that's right. They put out individual tax return, several family trust returns, and they also released a letter from their accountants that covers the roughly 20 years of their prior tax returns.
So tell us, what was his tax rate? And for anyone in New York, I guess they should be sitting down for this, but what was his tax rate?
Well, for 2011, it was 14.1%. That's his federal rate. That's
his federal rate. And I presume this was from investment money, so there would be no payroll taxes on top of that, would there?
There's always a tiny amount of payroll tax that you pay, but basically the overwhelming majority of it is income taxes on his investment income. Yeah.
Now I understand that he donated a huge amount of money to charity, but didn't take all of that as a deduction. Explain how much he donated.
He donated about $4 million in 2011, but only took about $2.25 million. And the campaign was very clear that this was done deliberately in order to keep his tax rate as high as it was, even though that wasn't very high.
So some of the data here says that he had an average annual effective federal tax rate, which doesn't include payroll taxes, doesn't include state taxes, or anything else, of 20.2%, and the lowest was 13.7%.
Right.
So
that's
carry on.
That's largely because he's going back to the pre-Bush years, we think, when tax rates were a bit higher, especially on investment income.
Now, is this going to satisfy his critics? He's been tremendously generous to charity. Certainly in 2011, that seems like an enormous amount of money to give in one single year.
Oh, no doubt. And they gave over 10% of their income every year to charity, if I'm remembering right. So they give very large amounts to charity. But no, absolutely, this will not silence the critics. This is a campaign issue that is not going to go away. Democrats think it works well for them, and they're just not going to leave it alone.
So was it wise of him, do you think, to release his tax returns? I know that some people had said, look, only do the legal minimum, because it doesn't really matter what you do. You're still going to be beaten with a stick no matter what you do or say.
I think it's just become an accepted practice, kind of required for candidates to release some of their income tax returns. Obviously, there's no legal standard, but they feel like they have to do something on this. And, it's been a rough week for Romney. They might have just figured this was a good week to get it out the door. Typically in Washington, bad news comes out on Friday afternoons. They tried to make this look like pretty good news for them, but it still, I think, is going to feed the criticisms.
Well, I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about this in the coming days and weeks. Thank you very much, John McKinnon of the Wall Street Journal. You can read more on Mitt Romney's tax returns and how much he paid in tax on WSJ.com and in tomorrow's paper, so don't miss that.